Hello everyone. The departure of Henry Cavill from the series, The Witcher, was a real shock for a huge number of viewers and fans of the actor, as well as this universe as a whole, and after a couple of weeks, when the dust has dissipated a little and passions have subsided, extremely curious news begins to arrive. So the most authoritative portal about The Witcher Redanian intelligence writes that the actor's decision to leave him was not spontaneous, but was planned during the second season. In addition, it became known that Liam Hemsworth, who will now replace Henry, auditioned for this role back in 2018, and after that, suddenly, a revelation of some anonymous person, already deleted, pops up on Reddit, who reports that the authors apparently hated Cavill, although he does not specify which one of them, and that the idea of surviving the Briton and replacing him with a more accommodating Hemsworth, who will not protect the primary sources, has been hatched for years. So, I think everyone already knows what happened over the last week. I remind you, on October 29, 2022, Henry Cavill announced on his Instagram that he was leaving the Witcher series after the third season, which is already being filmed. After that, most of the viewers of The Witcher were shocked, because if earlier, even before the start of the first season, Henry's candidacy was accepted rather skeptically, then by the beginning of the series, the audience realized that in fact he was alone, with rare exceptions, and was dragging the whole project on himself. The actor's departure would mean a real disaster both for the series, The Witcher, and for Netflix in general. The performer of the role of the White Wolf also said that he was handing over his cloak to Hemsworth, who will play this role starting from season 4, although filming is still very far away. After all, work will begin only in the summer of 2023, and that's where the most interesting thing begins, namely, the disclosure of the Witcher Redanian intelligence portal, and therefore the departure of Henry Cavill from The Witcher began in the second season. The name sounds so meaningful, because in the summer of 2021, when the second season of The Witcher was at the stage of post-production, and the third season was not even extended, the article says that there are more and more opportunities to remake Geralt in Netflix. The reason for this was that Henry Cavill considered leaving the series after the second season, because he and the producers did not agree on the content and the role of Geralt in The Witcher. It goes on to say why they had not previously released such information. At that time we believed that Henry was not 100% serious in this regard, and in fact was not going to leave the series because he fought so hard for this role, so instead of reporting it, we decided to hold off this information and to see how events turn out. Indeed, our beliefs were strengthened when the third season was officially confirmed in September 2021, and a little later, in November, a report by The Hollywood Reporter appeared, which stated that Cavill had just renewed his contract and would have been receiving $1 million per episode in the third season, as opposed to $400,000 of his previous salary in The Witcher. But even after that, something strange started happening. It became clear that Henry Cavill insisted on a more accurate book, Geralt. I repeated this in almost every interview. Here's just one example. The most difficult thing for me was to find a balance between the showrunner's vision and my love for books, and also try to embody this Geralt in the showrunner's vision. Here you need to go through a fine line. This is the story of the showrunners, so this is an adaptation. The difficulty for me was to find Geralt's place in the books and be able to serve both as much as I can. You will agree that this is quite understandable, albeit a veiled hint that there is a huge difference and growing between the vision of the main character and the entire series from Henry and what the showrunners think the conflict, and it was said even before the release of Season 2, during the promo tour before it. Well, then Henry Cavill added fuel to the fire even more, saying what I was aiming for was not necessarily a simple dialogue, it would bring Geralt to the screen more like a book. All my requests and wishes were simply true to the source material. The actor was completed. The conflict grew and intensified long before the final decision, and the article goes on to say that the conflict in the schedule between Superman and The Witcher, as many believed, was not the reason for the actor's departure. because Cavill himself said in an interview back in 2019, that he could handle both projects. When he was asked such a question, should be kept in mind that no matter what films I will star in over the next years, we will be able to accommodate 2 projects in 1 year, the actor noted. Therefore, we reject the argument that the sudden return to DC was an important factor in the Britain's departure from The Witcher. But then it remains extremely important that after the first season, back in 2020 and 21, Cavill, while working on the sequel, constantly had disagreements with the producers about his work after the end of the second season. He seriously considered leaving The Witcher, but they offered him more money, and he decided to stay temporarily. Plus I hope to change the course of things, but at the same time, during the filming of the third season of The Witcher, it was noticeable that some of the participants in the series started subscribing to "Who would you think Liam Hemsworth?" on their social networks. Of course, we didn't think anything about it, the article says, but now it turns out that Geralt's new auditions could take place while the third season was still in development. In the production, you will agree, it is curious, but this is not the main news. The main news is that Liam Hemsworth is not really a person from the outside for The Witcher, because it turned out that back in 2018 the actor auditioned for this role, competing with Henry Cavill. The main thing was that there have been intrigues against Henry within The Witcher's team for several years. That is, the wave was caused, of course, not by the bosses of Netflix, who, firstly, are not so keen on the topic of producing their series, even if it is the flagship, and secondly, who probably has, and it was not in my thoughts to expel the main and in fact the only star of The Witcher, but there were clearly such people among the producers, screenwriters and, perhaps, someone else from the team. It is unclear whether Lauren Schmidt personally had a hand in this or not, but the essence was, firstly, many initially Hemsworth I liked it more than Henry, and secondly Cavill began to actively defend the original in the form of books, and thereby make enemies. After all, we can once again recall the recent revelations of Bodemeo, the former screenwriter of The Witcher, who said that among his colleagues there are those who ridicules and even despises Sapkowski's books, which is actually visible to the naked eye when watching 2 seasons of The Witcher, and which, of course, Cavill could not calmly endure, in fact, became the last, although, unfortunately, not the strongest support for the original source of the real Witcher Andrzej Sapkowski. Now that they dug up old interviews and statements of the Briton, it is clear that he sent an unambiguous signal about this, and that his dissatisfaction with the creators of the show, just like their dissatisfaction with the obstinate main star, has grown exponentially. As far as Hemsworth is concerned, then it will be much easier for The Witcher's team with this actor, because, on the one hand, already in 2018, he apparently got a number of supporters, and most importantly, Liam Hemsworth, alas, is not such a star as, say, his older brother or as Henry Cavill, so the role of the White Wolf for this actor, without exaggeration, is at the moment the chance of a lifetime. He is unlikely to be ready to put everything on the line for the sake of protecting the original in the form of books, especially when their author himself does not care about his legacy, and when it is already clear what the conscientiousness of the previous actor led to. Therefore, such a move is more profitable than ever for a certain part of The Witcher's team, and apparently they went for it for a long time. Just no one knew or suspected that with Henry's departure, it's scary what will remain of The Witcher and the White Wolf himself, but there's nothing to be done about it. Let's see what's there. Everything will end. You write your comments on this. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell so as not to miss the latest interesting releases. Thank you all for watching.